What you're looking at are the two decks covering critical hits and critical injuries. The critical hit deck is for ships and vehicles, and the critical injury deck is for characters. Now, more than anything else, these are a role-play aid. I know that sounds strange that we would be talking about a component as being something that enhances roleplay, but more than anything else, that is what the function of these cards can serve at your table. Now, the product is intended for use with any of the three games, as it's drawn directly from the critical hit charts provided in Chapter 6 of any of the games, which means there are 19 basic categories of effect for the critical hits, and there are 29 basic categories of effect for the critical injuries. Let's take a look at the cards and talk briefly about how they get used. The cards come in a reusable plastic case. If you have other card games or collectible cards of one kind or another around, I imagine you have better means of storage that will keep them safe and can be stored more efficiently. However, if you don't, this is a nice addition. The cards themselves are a quality that we should expect now from a print-on-demand product. It's quite good. Underneath the cover card, on its back, we have the instructions on how the cards are to be used. It simply explains that each card contains the D100 roll, which relates to this particular critical effect. Cards are also numbered from 1 through 19, or in the case of the injury deck, 1 through 29. And it has most of the text that you will need. In most cases, the text provided is exactly what you need to adjudicate the effect. In some cases, with longer or more detailed crits, you may have to refer to the book. At the bottom of each card, we have the severity of the critical, as well as the difficulty for repairing, or in the case of the injury deck, healing that critical. These are also color-coded as they are in the chart in the book, making them a little easier to recognize by sight. Each card has some evocative art, and as I said before, the text required to adjudicate the critical. The material provided in the deck is the same as in the core book. This is simply bringing those charts out into the real world in the form of cards. So, why, at the beginning of the clip, did I say that this struck me as primarily being a role-playing aid? Well, it's simple. During play, there are lots of reasons for interaction around the table to stop being in character and start being out of character, having to address the system. Do I get a boost die or not? Or on what page is this chart? That kind of thing. One of the things that a tool like this can help you do is minimize around the table chatter. Now, the Game Master can simply pass the appropriate critical hit chart to a player who is already well aware that they've taken a crit. They've been a part of the process of determining that. But we don't actually need to talk about the crit in game terms if we have a tool like this. We can simply pass the card over. The player can read it. The other people around the table can at least see the image and likely read the title, like fearsome wound or temporarily lame, and get a hint of the description that's going to come. The person who's taken the injury can be describing how they are acting, if they are conscious, and so can the Game Master, and we can go from there. Everybody else around the table doesn't really need to be aware of the specific mechanical effects, but the player does need to be aware, but no one really needs to talk about it. This not only manages to speed play by reducing the amount of table talk, it can also focus play more on in-character concerns and description by removing one of the pieces of mechanical table talk, which tends to have to happen in combat. Is this an essential item? Well, this is one of those things that you could easily make yourself using the chart. They are a reasonably low price, clocking in normally at less than $7. Is it essential? I have to come in on the no side for essential. Does it have value? yes, it definitely has value. And we can find similar items as a major component of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition. There's a lot of material in card or other symbolic form in that game which serves the same purpose, reducing the amount of mechanical table talk, allowing for and empowering other characters around the table to be able to interact descriptively with your character without having to say, hey, how close are you to the edge of your wound threshold? Or things like that. So, something to consider if you want to, raise the immersive level of play in an in-character aspect around your table. This might be something you'd be interested in. In terms of necessary as a game aid, it isn't. This is simply the material that is in the chart in Chapter 6 of whichever version of the game you are playing. So, this is a quick look at Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars Role-Playing Critical Hit and Critical Injury decks. I hope it's been in some way helpful.